Hello, all. We are going to be talking today about the overwhelming pro-Roman sentiment in the early church fathers' works. This is a bit strange as we constantly hear of persecution of Christians in Christian literature and the martyrdom stories and stuff like Nero using Christians as lamps in his residence there in Rome after the fire of Rome, which has probably had nothing to do with Christians. These stories coming later and not backed up by any material, useful public record of the time, not in Rome anyway. So it is a bit strange that we see so many Christians talking positively about paying taxes and rendering unto Caesar and so on. So I thought I'd just go through that. And of course it bolsters the notion here that the Flavian family may well have been the first Christians and that Christianity was a Roman invention, basically. So let's go through this. Throughout the first 3 centuries of Christian history, early Christian authors frequently expressed attitudes towards the Roman Empire that ranged from cautious and neutral to outright praise. The first part of the essay presents a detailed and comprehensive account of every major instance in which early Christian figures spoke favourably or loyally about the Roman Empire, often portraying it as an instrument of divine providence, a force for order and stability, or a legitimate authority to which Christianity ought to submit. Indeed. Part 1, direct quotes and statements reflecting pro-Roman sentiment. Of course, we have Paul of Tarsus. Let every person be subject to the governing authority, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Pay to all what is owed to them, taxes to whom taxes are owed, revenue to whom revenue is owed, respect to whom respect is owed, honour to whom honour is owed. Romans 13, 1-7. He also says in Acts, it is lawful for you to be it is lawful for you to flog a man who is a Roman citizen and uncondemned. I am a citizen by birth. I appeal to Caesar. Of course, he appeals to Caesar, trying to uphold the Roman legal system, and Caesar as someone who you can appeal to if you believe that law is not working in your favour. And that's in Acts 25:11. Justin Martyr now, 100 to 165 CE. He's writing in the 150s about then. Wherever we more readily than all men endeavour to pay to those appointed by you the taxes both ordinary and extraordinary, as we have been taught by him. So again, First Apology 17. Pay your taxes, guys. The Roman authorities need their taxes. We worship God only, but in other things we gladly serve you, acknowledging you as emperors and rulers of men. So essentially neutral or even pro-Roman. Do what you're told under Roman law. First Apology 12. We are of all men most eager to pay homage to the emperors, both by prayers and by paying taxes and by rendering honour. First Apology 67. So these guys are basically living reasonably happily under the Roman authorities at the time. Apology 67, that is the First Apology 67. Irenaeus of Lyon, talking around more the 180s to maybe 200. And he who now hinders must hinder until he be taken out of the way, and then shall the wicked one be revealed. Against heresies, 525:1. So these guys are seen as the Romans, who are seen as people who are continuing good on earth, continuing this work against hinderers. So they're essentially helpful to God. It is a matter of necessity that every Christian should agree with this church, i.e. Rome, on account of its preeminent authority against heresy 332. Now, Theophilus of Antioch now, circa 180, the Emperor of Rome is, so far, maintained by God for the good of the human race. Autoclius 114. Oh, hang on, Autolycus, 114. Tertullian writes, in the 200, maybe early 200s, we constantly pray for all the emperors. Everything a man or a Caesar could wish. Apology 30. So, again, reasonably praiseworthy. Of the Roman system, we Christians are the most dutiful in paying tribute to the emperors. We worship only God, but in other things we gladly serve you. Apology 33. Mycenius Felix now 200, around 200. We do not speak against the Roman Empire, for we know that God has ordained all authorities. Okay, Octavius 33. Again, this is Clement now. Clement of Alexandria, 150 to 215. Writing in the early 200s. I believe the Greeks and Romans have been brought under the laws of reason and moderation. Stromata 6.5. Origen, writing in the early 200s, we must pay for kings and rulers so that we may lead a quiet and peaceful life. Against Celsus 8.23. Again, this is a pacifistic religion. I understand this, but it never occurred to the Romans, I don't think, at the time that the Christians were really a threat to Rome at all. Not like the Jewish messianic movements who fought bloody wars with Rome, and for many decades. Eusebius of Caesarea, he's now writing in the about 300, maybe 315. It was God himself who helped Constantine and his pious sons to victory over all enemies. Ecclesiastical History 10:9. And here we go. The kingdom of Christ has found its earthly image in the rule of the Roman Empire. Life of Constantine 1:6. Okay, additional forms of evidence supporting early Christian pro-Roman outlook. Okay, Martyr's Acts praising Roman justice. Martyrdom of Polycarp and Acts of Justin show Roman trials conducted in a civil and judicial manner. Deference to the Roman Church. Dionysius of Corinth, 170 odd CE, praises the Roman Church's leadership and generosity. That's more Christian, but it's still shepherd of her mass. 100 to 140, written in Rome, centers church authority in Rome, devoid of anti-imperial polemic. D. Letters from Lyon and Vienna. 177, credits imperial rescript with correcting injustice, distinguishes Roman emperor from local abuses of power. Okay, Christian use of Roman symbols and terms, adoption of Roman titles like pontifex. Again, use of Latin in church affairs and administrative hierarchies. 5 apologists appealing to Roman legal ideas. Anaxagoras appeals to Roman legal justice in plea for the Christians. 2. Practical benefits of Roman rule. Christian missionaries are actively facilitated by Roman infrastructure, roads and peace. Of course, typological theology of Rome. Cyprian of Carthage calls Rome the root and womb of ecclesiastical unity. Epistle 59:14. The absence of any anti-Roman polemic. No direct comparison of Rome with Babylon or the beast before the 4th century among proto-Orthodox Christians. Now, some people will say that Revelation is about And Revelation is a really interesting one. It's about Rome here. Yes, maybe no, but it might have been, or might well have been, constructed, Revelation, under the watchful eye of Domitian. And there are tons and tons of astrotheological inferences we can glean from that as well. So it's not entirely easy just to say this is a Rome, that the beast is Rome. There's a lot of evidence that goes against that, and all of this stuff as well. So despite episodes of persecution, early Christians frequently emphasized loyalty, obedience, and gratitude towards the Roman Empire. From Paul to Eusebius, major figures either promote political quietism or directly praise Rome's order, justice, and divine rule. Martyr literature, apologists, bishops, and ecclesiastical structures consistently reflect a worldview in which Rome is not the enemy of God, but often his instrument. This pro-Roman sentiment laid the ideological foundation of Christianity's eventual integration into imperial life under Constantine. Okay. So yeah, I think this is probably going to be a part 2 of the video I just put out. Apologies for the audio of the last video. I'm doing this basically from holiday. I just want to make sure I put out a video every day. So I hope that was helpful and edifying, and it helps us understand, I think, that many of the instances of the martyrdom stories that pitch Christianity against Rome, it's not really there within much of the literature that we find, and Christians will often make excuses for this and say that, well, Christians had to be polite and good-natured towards their Roman, hosts, but also there's a lot of Christianity and Christians who were very stringent and up, they said, no, we're Christians, we do what we want, and we don't mind being martyred, and blah blah blah. So yeah, all stuff to consider really, but this essentially fits the Flavian model really nicely, and that so much of the Flavian so much of the gospel stories there really incorporate pro-Roman sentiment right from the beginning, as a separation out from messianic, Davidic leadership and warlike anger and xenophobia, even against foreigners and foreign oppression. So I'll leave that there. Thank you very much, and we will be back tomorrow.